Kia ora koutou, no mai haere mai, and welcome to Frogs on Friday. Now today we're doing things a little bit differently and we have a special edition. On today's show we'll be looking back at some of the leading industry trends and insights that we've talked about from the first half of 2024 and how they have impacted the talent landscape across Aotearoa. So let's jump straight into our countdown with Mahi Media.
Well, the big news this week that many were waiting on were the labour market stats were released earlier in the week. And as expected, the unemployment rate did rise, but I think it wasn't as steep a jump as last quarter. So it's now sitting at 4.6%. So still well under that 5% mark. Wage inflation as well had a slight bump up to 4.3% from 4.1, which is the same level as the December quarter as well. But I think, again, that is starting to level out, and the increase or slight increase is largely due to pay increases in the public sector that are playing through. So if you think back, there were quite a few regulated changes within the healthcare space, so some health workers received pay rises, as well as school therapists and early childhood education staff as well, which would have an effect. Now, in anticipation of the employment stats being released, I was really chuffed to get an invite again to speak on the Of Interest podcast with Gareth Vaughan, comparing the labour market now with 2 years ago when I was on the podcast as well. So to bring your mind back, August 2022 was very much a time when employees and job seekers held the balance of power for once. But I guess as we're seeing now, it didn't take long for that to shift right back. Another big change that we're seeing is in wage increases, or that we've seen. So this time 2 years ago, wages had started to rise, but they weren't really increasing quickly enough to keep up with inflation. With job seekers in demand at the time, we were seeing employees and job seekers really starting to use those job market conditions as bargaining chip to secure better conditions, and of course including pay rises. So as a result, salary and wages rapidly increased, and they caught up with and then surpassed inflation levels. So, but now with businesses facing cost pressures, the wage increases haven't really been sustainable, and we're now seeing wage inflation start to level out. So many job seekers now may be in a position where they have to consider taking a pay cut to secure a new role, and probably at the same level as well. This is enhanced, particularly for graduates or entry-level roles that were paying a premium 2 years ago. So we know that competition is fierce for jobs right now, with more job seekers vying for fewer jobs. And New Zealand has seen around a 50% drop in jobs across the country compared with last year. So I thought I'd share my top 5 tips to help you stand out. Number 1, Be selective in what you apply for. So definitely recruitment agencies and also a lot of businesses will use applicant tracking systems so we can see your application history. So if you're applying for anything and everything, and it can be a temptation to do that when you really need to find something new, there's a danger that they might overlook your application, even if you have got the right experience or relevant experience for that job, if they see that you're applying for a lot of different roles. Number 2, include achievements that showcase your strengths in your CV. So really, to be able to stand out, you've got to make it really easy for potential employers to see the value that you could bring. So don't leave it unsaid. Remember, they're going to be quickly scanning through CVs, so make it stand out all the good things that you've done in previous roles. Number 3, show your involvement in projects or activities outside of your job description. So in this kind of market, chances are the organization is trying to do more with less people. So it's really important that you highlight your special skills and contributions to be able to show how you could help the organization work towards their broader goals. And it might just be things like involvement in a system implementation, an employee focus group, or even something as simple as restarting the social club. Anything that you can show that you're putting in that extra that maybe others aren't. Number 4, consider customizing your CV to the job advertisement. So I don't mean rewrite the whole thing, but it could be little things like reordering your job responsibilities and providing examples to match the key tasks in the ad, as well as highlighting your qualifications, skills, or experience to show that you meet any prerequisites for that job. Again, it's about making it easier for the employer to see that you've got the skills and experience that they're looking for. And last but definitely not least, consider working with a recruitment agency. And of course, I would recommend Frog Recruitment. So this is a free service for job seekers, providing professional advice. So a thing that a lot of job seekers won't know is that we can also use our networks to represent you directly with hiring managers so that your application gets priority and you're no longer one of 100 applicants. So hopefully some of these tips will help you secure your next role. Okay, so just in case you didn't get enough doom and gloom in last week's Frogs on Friday, I'm here with a little bit more. But to be fair, it really is the same kind of market data in this report that we're looking at. It's just from Trade Me Jobs, so just from another source. So let's start with the lowlights and then work our way up to something more positive. So across the Motu, the number of job listings decreased by almost 40% compared with last year. So this was largely influenced by our 2 biggest regions, Auckland, which dropped 47%, closely followed by Wellington, 44%. And again, with some bad news, I think unfortunately we are likely to see some further decline in the next quarter for Wellington as they continue to experience the fallout from the public sector cuts. But perhaps Mark might have some insight into that later in the show as well. We've also seen a huge increase in job applications, so up almost 62% from last year. So although that might be good news for employers who are looking to fill their vacancy, what it means is that it's a really tough market out there for job seekers with huge competition for fewer jobs. So where are those jobs? Well, it looks like you might have to take a trip south. So the South Island gets the nod, with West Coast, Southland and Nelson Tasman areas experiencing increased job listings, so bucking the trend there. So maybe now is the time to consider a sea change or tree change, or actually I don't know what kind of change it is if you're going to move to Southland, but perhaps just a general change of pace.
Thanks so much for joining us for our special edition today. I hope you enjoyed looking back over the trends and have some guesses of what's in store for the rest of the year. We'll be back same time next week. Look forward to seeing you then. Ngā mihi nui.